This is episode 0018 of Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. And today we have Alice Cheambe. I probably didn't say it right. Alice is from Cameroon. She came to Germany. It's a very interesting law of attraction story, but she came to Germany in the year that she turned 20 to study at a school in a technical field. I'm going to let her explain her whole career course, but she has decided to leave the engineering aspects and the technical aspects of her life because she has discovered a spiritual path with yoga. She wants to share this with the world, and she's choosing to do so as a digital online entrepreneur. So I want to welcome you, Alice. Thank you so much for participating in the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. I'm excited.
I'm glad to have you too. I'm really glad to have you too. And I'm always happy to have people who can clearly see the law of attraction working in their life, because it takes many different forms, it manifests, and the more we practice it, the faster we get the end results that we've been thinking about. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what's the one thing you had known before you began your journey to becoming an online entrepreneur?
Great question. Okay, the first thing that I wish I knew when I started my entrepreneurial journey, that it was a process. What I mean by that is, before I started, I felt like I was in this void where I had really accomplished everything I set myself to accomplish. And then starting my entrepreneurial journey, it felt like I am getting to another job, kind of, but it's not really a job. It is a process of discovering. And when I started that journey, I needed some time to discover who I am, because being an entrepreneur is about providing solutions to people. And to be able to provide the solutions to people, you also have to know what you're good at. And growing up was always a straight ambitious focus on attaining something that someone told me I had to attain. But now being an entrepreneur is like you are being the boss of your own craft, and you have to come up with something that you think you want to be of service to the others. So I just wish, for me, when I was starting off, was to know that it was a process, and this process would have to involve me at the first stage discovering who I am, so that I can really be of service to people the way I wanted to be of service to them.
I think you pointed out two really beautiful statements. Number one is, I'm responsible. I'm the one in charge. It's so different from being an employee someplace. And the second point that you brought out is service,
Right.
because the world has forgotten about the servant leader. The world has kind of forgotten about the fact that you can have anything you want in this world if you can help enough people get what they want.
Absolutely.
And, and so it's not a selfish career being an entrepreneur. It's really almost a selfless act, because you are saying, I am going to take me and I am going to put it out there to the world.
Right.
It's really something else. Let's go on to the opposite extreme of this. What's the biggest failing you've had come across in this journey?
That's an interesting question. In retrospect, I wouldn't look at it like failures. Actually, I would look at it like learnings, just really learnings, because we get trapped a lot in failing. I think my biggest failure was not to fail enough. Like, you come into the entrepreneurial journey and you want to be good at it. What I forgot was I was starting a new process. I had to learn new skills. I had to master the skills. And in you learning new skills and mastering them, you're going to fail. You're going to fail a couple of times to master them. And the difficulty there is, once we get bigger and we grow up, we feel failure is something negative, but we forget that we have always learned through failure. We learned how to stand, to walk, to speak, to write, all through try and error and mastering the craft and getting good at. So my biggest failure at being an entrepreneur is being scared of failing. It made me not try out so many things. It made me keep myself small. It made me just not really put myself out there, and which also, as I was talking before, the process of you discovering yourself, you discover yourself as well through failures. And the more you fail, you learn from those failures and know what to do better, differently as you progress. So my biggest failure is the fear of failing.
I think people's fear of failure is equal sometimes to their fear of success. You're absolutely right. I don't know too many babies who are learning to try to walk, who take one or two attempts and then just sit down and say, that's it. You guys are carrying me for the rest of your life. I'm not interested in this. I can't look good. I'm not going. And the digital world is full of people like that who will spend months studying how to get online and then make that one fatal decision that's like, oh, but what if I fail? So I won't even start. And they've denied themselves. They've denied themselves so much.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's saying, I would like to get online and kind of go down the path that Alice is kind of going to explain to us, because she's talking about this inner journey that is ending up online as a business. What suggestions would you offer to them to help them along the way?
Okay, good question, Gary. The first thing I would say is, well, first of all, the decision to leave whatever circumstance you are in to move to a different circumstance, there was probably some stirring there. There was something that was stirring at your soul or just keeping you awake at night to move you from your circumstance to the next circumstance. So I would really advise people, that's kind of like the very first step, to question this part of yourself which is wanting a change. Because once you question that part of yourself, or that change that is knocking at your door, that is what would give you that insight of what I was talking about before, like getting to know yourself. That is what is going to be showing you the breadcrumbs. It's like breadcrumbs along the path that you are wanting to take. So the first thing I would really advise people is to know your why. Why are you doing what you want to do? And once you are clear about that why, then you can really, it's going to be a North Pole. It's going to be a North Star, because in the entrepreneurial world today, there are a lot of things that you would be bombarded at. Some ones are going to resonate with you and some ones are not going to resonate with you. But if you start your journey knowing your why and knowing the North Star that is going to be pulling you forward, you are going to have a steady path. It would be way unlikely to get off that course, because in the entrepreneurial world, there are a lot of shining objects. Once you start the entrepreneurial journey, you would find other things jumping at you, or you seeing them and feeling attracted to them. It could be like a distraction for a moment, but once you know at your core what your why is, you would always ask yourself if that something is in alignment to your greater picture. If it is not in alignment, you let it go. If it is in alignment, then you follow the path. So for me, my experience has been, at the beginning, I was jumping a little bit around all over the place. That could cause burnout as well. And you actually even not wanting to pursue this path. But I had to take a step back and define for myself my vision. What do I want as an entrepreneur? And with that solid vision, I know immediately what is for me and what is not for me. So when I start this journey, and I look left and right and I see all these shining objects, I easily pick the ones that are in alignment to my path, my why, and my bigger picture. So that's one advice I would give anyone starting this journey.
I will say that in the first three answers, if people haven't found golden nuggets, they're not even walking with their eyes open, because they're just pouring out left and right. The truth is, this is like trying to walk up to the top of Mount Fuji. The Japanese talk about there are many paths to the top of Mount Fuji, and the digital online entrepreneurship has many paths. And oftentimes we choose wrong the first time. We get into something and we do it for a while and we say, that isn't really me, because we haven't really figured ourselves out yet. I just love how you say, the shiny objects. The shiny objects can distract you because they're not congruent with who you are. Or they could be, yes, that is what I need to pursue because that is totally congruent with me. And so this path teaches you real discernment in regards to who you are. And that, I think, is just wonderful. So what are the best resources that you have found to help you along this journey?
Resources. Great question. First of all, once you start the entrepreneurial journey, or for my experience has been the community of people along this path, because I have found myself in the trenches with them, and it's always good to have someone to bounce your ideas to. So that's a really good resources right there. But there are other books that I've come across and speakers I've come across and people who are already entrepreneurs that have inspired me. I was talking before about the fear of failure. A really good resource there is a book from Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. That book really helped me at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey because I was a lot in my mind, wanting to overthink a lot of things that I had to do in my business. But the 5-Second Rule just gave me, it was a tool that I used, not question myself so much. Once there is something in front of you that you know you have to be doing in your journey, don't question it, don't be in your head so much, come to your heart. It's like really just move from the impulse that something gives you and not really stay a lot in analysis paralysis. And there was another book that has really helped me, again, in one point that I was It is a book that is a really good book for anyone, not just entrepreneurs, just to really discover who they are and how difficult it is, the mental mind, because being an entrepreneur, you have to be the boss. You're the boss of your ship. And at times you are limited by your own mind. It's a really beautiful book to see how to navigate the mind and feel and drop into the heart and have an impact in what you're doing. So those two books have been really, really helpful for me.
I think the biggest surprise for me becoming an entrepreneur online was the idea of community and how incredibly generous people who are very successful online are in sharing, helping, encouraging, because as a group, they don't see the pot as being limited in size. If you get in and you become successful, you've just increased the size of the pot for everybody else. And that was one thing. And the second thing I discovered was there are people who get into this with the wrong mindset. They think that they can be anonymous. They can hide behind a computer screen. Nobody will know who they are. And that's just wrong. This whole career, this whole pathway is about developing relationships with other people, your customers, other entrepreneurs, people who come to you to be mentored. It's all about giving. And we're paying so much forward out of our heart's knowledge, not our head knowledge, but our heart's knowledge, that what we are sharing returns to us in huge abundance. And for normal business people, that's like, oh, you're helping your competitors. No, I'm helping myself. That's how it works out. And so the world has to work in that direction. So you told us about resources. So let me ask you, what three people, what three books, you can mix it up, but what have been the best influences to help you along your way?
Okay. Great question. Influencers. We already talked about community, right? Where we kind of influence each other and we bounce off each other. And in my own journey, there are three people who have really stood up to me because I just admire. I admire the way they are also entrepreneurs and they are heart-centered entrepreneurs, which is something that really appeals to me. I'm aspiring to be a very heart-based service business. And the first person is Kat Smith. And I met her. It was, again, one of these moments where you just know you have to do something. My very first year of being an entrepreneur, there was a meetup in Australia. And here I took some time off work and flew 24 hours to Australia to this meetup. And I think what was pulling me to that meetup was to meet this individual, because after meeting her, she's really helped me to find my voice as an entrepreneur and to also work on my own self-expression. When I started my journey, I didn't know my footing around. I didn't know how to express myself. And way of coaching, she's a coach, and she just coached me through finding my own voice and finding my own expression and being my own unique self. Because being an entrepreneur, you have to find your uniqueness. It's not about copying another person. It's about really finding your own unique way to bring your own gift into the world. She has been very instrumental and influencing. She's been a great influencer for me in that path. And another person is Danielle Laporte. She's also an entrepreneur. She started off being a business coach, but now she's more of a heart-centered entrepreneur as well, where she also guiding people in finding their truth and walking in their truth, not just finding your truth, but you find that truth and walk with that truth. And through her, it's bringing spiritual. I have this concept I call integrated lifestyle vision, where it's like bringing spiritual concepts and bringing worldly concepts. It's kind of like a marriage to both, and live your life according to that vision, because it's so easy to learn a lot intellectually and it stays just like an intellectual thing. You're putting in more information, but your life has not been affected in any way. And Danielle Laporte, her work, her studies, I actually am licensed to her program to teach what she teaches, because it has taught me to apply this into my life on a day-to-day basis. And not just as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, as someone who is wanting to be of service to someone. So it's like, how do I learn all what I have learned in the books, in the spiritual world, the new age world? How do I bring it back into my day-to-day life? And how do I walk that path in alignment to who I am? And the last person I want to mention is, I just discovered her last year, where the world felt like it was having a tantrum. That's how I put it. And it was a difficult period. And again, one person that really helped me through this phase was a lady, Tracy Stanley. With her, she's a Yoga Nidra instructor, a teacher, and her practices helped me really find stability in my own world. Like, at times the storm comes and you feel a little bit disorientated, but there is always something that catches you and gives you a new footing to move from there. And Tracy Stanley her work has just been very instrumental for me to find my own stability, and not just finding my own stability, but also to empower me in my gifts, so that I can really shine my light and give others the permission to shine the light as well, which I think this is what entrepreneurship is from my perspective. It's like you shining your light, your gifts to others, and allowing either you being of service to them, or you're giving them the permission to also shine their light. And it's kind of like a ripple effect that goes all around. At the end, we all win and we're all in it together.
Well, you did a great job telling us about 3 people who really have helped you and influenced you greatly. I will have those names in the show notes, folks, so you can look them up yourself if you're further of interest. Now, here's a question I love asking people, because there are so many myths and rumors about being an online digital entrepreneur. Which one would you like to debunk for our audience today?
The one that comes to mind, Gary, is that the entrepreneurial world is easy, because it's not. Looking from outside is like, you look at an entrepreneur, you feel that person has it all figured out, and it's swimming in prosperity and everything is straight and forward. it is not the case. It is absolutely not the case, because it comes with a lot of ups and downs. It comes, like before we're talking about being the boss, most of us grew up having others tell us what to do. But as an entrepreneur, you're a boss of yourself. And if you are not at your A game, then you're not at your A game and your business is not working, it's not flourishing. It's hard work, and it's not easy. It's not an easy thing, but with the hard work comes as well the beauty of the unfolding, which it's very expansive and not the box. So that's the beauty about it as well. So though it's not easy and it's a path where very little people take this path, are successful in this path, I think even if you're successful or not, just the process it takes you through in discovering who you are, discovering your gifts, your strengths, your weaknesses, you can take that and apply it to every other thing. So at the end, you can only make that experience and learn from it.
I think for myself, the biggest surprise was, even though this is a business, for me, it's been a huge spiritual journey. I have grown so much spiritually doing this job of being an online entrepreneur. And I know that I'm a better person for taking this path. It's truly the hero's journey in many ways, at least a portion of the journey. So thank you for sharing. That's a powerful piece of information. If you could step into my shoes, Alice, and say, you know, that Gary should really ask me this question. What question should I have asked you?
Oh, great question. You have really beautiful questions, Gary. And what I would have asked myself is this: ultimately, we are here to be happy. Happiness is kind of like the common ground or at least I think. And that always comes with us. Happiness always comes with us playing at our edge, because when we are not at our edge, there is this stagnation that is there. And when stagnation is there, then we don't feel so whole in ourselves. So the question I'll probably ask is, what is your edge? Because once we know our edge, we know towards what direction that expansion, that calling, that inner voice, or whatever we call it, it's pulling us. So it's a really beautiful question is, what is your edge? Maybe I can ask you this one. What is your edge, Gary?
My edge? I would say in my life, everything that's ever happened to me, both good and bad, boring and exciting, has pushed me to this moment in time. Even though I don't understand it all, I can recognize that it has gotten me to where I am now. And life is so exciting for me now, so full of passion. I wake up in the morning. I'm 66 years of age. I'm almost 67. And I'm at a point in life when everybody else says you're supposed to be shutting down. And I just wake up in the morning like I'm 21 all over again. What am I going to do today? This is exciting. I can't wait. And that's the edge. That's the edge. And it only has to be a slight edge, because I only have to be slightly better today than I was yesterday. And that's the whole journey for me. So thank you for asking me the question. I'm glad I could share.
That's so beautiful.
So you're very interesting, Alice. How's the best way for people to get in contact with you? And folks, we're going to put this in the show notes, so don't go looking for a pen or pencil while you're driving. So how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, thanks, Jerry. I have a website. The website is my first name and my last name. I know my last name is a little bit difficult. It's Alice, like Alice in Wonderland, and Cheambe.com. And the same first name and last name, you find me on Instagram as well. The same first name and last name, you find me on Facebook. Keeping it easy.
All right, good. We will put all that in show notes. So I give everybody 2 minutes, uninterrupted, to tell the world whatever is on your heart. Alice, this is your 2 minutes.
Thanks, Gary, for the opportunity. And what's my heart is we are in interesting times. 2020, 2021, moving forward. I feel actually started 2012, but we're in a time where a lot of things, we're in a revolution, I feel. And the revolution I think we are facing currently is a revolution of our inner world. It's like we've moved out and we've achieved and we've conquered but there is one part of ourselves that we've not discovered, which is more of the inner world. And I feel this times in which we are currently is redirecting our attentions back into the inner world to discover. I also feel we are being called to be leaders. It's not, there are people who are going to lead the masses and there are people who are going to lead themselves. The minimum, we are being called to be leaders of our lives. There's so much going on right now on the television, on the media, and one can get so disorientated. Now it's the beautiful time to master our discernment, our own intuition, and our own knowing that is going to be pushing us towards the right direction, which I feel this global revolution of the soul is happening. If you feel inspired by someone, it's like, ask yourself, what about that person inspires you? And know that you have that as well in yourself. And it could be leading just your family and leading just yourself or leading a group of people. It doesn't matter, but we're all being called to be leaders today.
I love that phrase. We're all being called. I think that's very true. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. Please share it with other people. Help this podcast to grow. Thank you, Alice, for participating. You are such a lovely person, and I appreciate your sharing to the audience today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.